Good morning, Facebook. It's about a little after 11 o'clock on the East Coast. I just finished up a session with a singer and I've got a little break before running to pick up one kid from camp, getting them back here, feeding lunch, and then having some more clients come in the afternoon. And I wanted to come in and do a live for you to talk about this lesson that has been coming up big time for me. So I'm assuming that maybe some of you also could use this lesson. And I put it up on a little picture post earlier this morning, like to the extent of like, what if there's more power in allowing rather than trying to figure it out, which is to me like sort of forcing, trying to force. And I will freely admit I have probably gone through my life being mostly a figure outer, and a place where if you just work hard, you get more done, all that kind of stuff. But this idea of allowing has been, like, literally I've been hearing the word allowing coming up, and when I do my meditation, the word allowing comes up. When I do some energy work, the word allowing comes up. And so I sort of was like, how do I work with that? And what is that all about? And I was thinking about it this morning in terms of artistry and your voice and your career when you are a professional voice user as a singer. What does that mean? Because so much of our lives when you're making a living as an artist of some kind, you have your art form that probably isn't necessarily paying your bills completely. So you've got some other thing going on. You're teaching, or you've got a desk job, or you're waitressing, or who knows what you're doing. But to make all of those pieces fit in a way that you can both feed your soul, hopefully with the work that you're doing, and pay your bills when there isn't always an overlap there, there's a lot to figure out. And you get where you need to go because you can sort of, it's like I described this morning as like, it's like you're almost like Spider-Man playing Twister, that you've got one hand on this job and one hand on your artwork, and then your foot is over here, maybe on your family, and then you've got your other foot on something else. And if one piece shifts, you can kind of crumble. And so I think we work hard to figure it out to make all these pieces of our lives work. And so there's value in doing that, but when it goes too far and you get into this, I just gotta figure it out. I've got to find the solution. There's an answer to everything. Like, wow, when I say that, that's so me. There's an answer to everything, but that shuts off creativity. It shuts off intuition. It shuts off this idea of allowing yourself even just permission to be where you are, and that you don't need to be in any other place than where you are. Wasn't that a novel concept? That was a novel concept for me. So I wanted to share with you a process that I've been using to work with this idea of allowing rather than figuring it all out. And it's something that I kind of stumbled across in a webinar that I think was given by Martha Beck, who, if you don't know who Martha Beck is, she writes a column in Oprah. She's published a bunch of books. She's a life coach. And I've sort of adopted and adapted it for my uses in a way that I think resonates with me, and I hope resonates with you. So what you're going to do is find a quiet place for yourself where you can just sit. And you're going to call to mind that thing that you want. That thing that maybe you've been thinking, I need to figure out how to make this happen. For me, that is, how can I begin to share the Singers Learning and Movement Library with more people? How do I let more people know? How do I build the membership of that? I've been feeling like I need to figure this out. I need to figure out the marketing for it. I need to figure out how do I add things to it. I need to figure out how am I sure that I'm creating the content for that's really going to work for the people who are already members. A lot of things to figure out. But when I get there in that mode, I'm not allowing anything, and things don't flow very easily. So for me, that's the thing that I call to mind. It might be something else for you. It might be a technical thing that you've been trying to figure out. It might be, how do I make my career work? How do I balance, if you just had a baby, how do I balance having a baby and being a singer? Whatever it is for you, you're going to call that thing to mind. And I actually, I sit with my hands in my lap, but I kind of cup my hands as though I'm allowing that desire to sit right there with me. And you can close your eyes to do this. And once you've identified what the desire is, you just simply ask yourself the question, where do I need to soften around this? And then you look inside in your body for places that you can physically soften. And when I did this the first time, I was really quite amazed to discover that very deep in my midsection, in my core, there was like this rod of tension that I was holding on to. That's my figuring out spot, I guess. And I needed to release it and allow things to open up. And when I did that, I was like, oh. And then you start to find some other places in the body that, you just keep asking yourself the question, where can I soften around this? For you, it might be in your throat. Maybe it's in your upper back or in your lower back or, your feet. It can be anywhere in your body. So you're going to sit with that for a while and, just keep coming back to how is the body feeling? Where do you need to release what you are? Where can you soften around this idea? And after you've sat with it for a while, the idea is it takes you into that quiet place inside where your intuition and your wisdom live. And when you reach that place and you've softened around this idea, this desire that you're holding on to, your intuition and your wisdom has a chance to actually talk. And it tells you, this is what you do next. And I think what's hardest is that sometimes the answer is, don't do anything right now. You need to learn to be in this space where you are simply in between where you are and where you want to be. And I will be the first to raise my hand and say how uncomfortable that space is for me. I don't like being in that space, but I'm learning to be there and not make it such a big deal in my life. So it's a 3-step process. Identify what it is that you desire, sit with it, and ask yourself, where do I need to soften, literally physically soften in your body to allow that to happen? And then once you have softened and you are taken into this sort of deeper, quieter space in your body, what do you hear? What are the nudges that you're getting? You might literally hear a voice talk to you. And this is, I've done a version of this for years. I remember this was probably almost a decade ago, being at a yoga retreat that I was at, and we were doing something similar, and it was ask yourself a question and just listen for the answer from that very deep, dark place. And it was the person that I was dating, and I asked, should I stay in this relationship? And it was like this booming voice said, no. I was like, okay, that's all I need to hear. But so as I've been asking the question around this movement library, I'm beginning to get more sense of intuition of like, where do I need to take action? Where do I need to just sit with it and allow it to be and do other things? So I really invite you to try out this process and see what you find. I think it's very empowering when it comes to thinking about your voice and your creativity and your life as an artist to do processes like this on a regular basis. This is a morning practice for me that I do. I probably don't spend more than 15 minutes doing it, and I keep my journal right by my side and a pen so that I can write down things that come up. But try it out and then share with me. What do you have a process like this that you do already? I'd love to hear about that if you do. And if you don't, let me know how this works for you. What resonates? What doesn't resonate? What might you tweak for your own self to make it work better for you? Feel free to share in the comments and let me know what you find. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all later.